John, I'm just going to name a few to start off. So I've actually got 4 for you.
Harsh.
So maybe, this is the thing, John, where I'm a bit concerned that given the outrage machine that operates in 2023, that people are going to get so upset with what we're about to say. But all we're doing, John, this is not personal attacks against these players. We're just saying that they're more highly rated than they should be as footballers. We're not personally attacking the players. I have to put disclaimer. Yeah. I have to qualify everything these days, John, because people get so sensitive and upset about everything.
Don't worry, if it goes on Twitter, I'll have a laugh.
Okay, so John, I think I'll give you 2 players I think who are overrated. I think Ben Hunt and Matt Burton are both overrated, John.
Ben Hunt's my man.
Okay, all right. So should I just continue and then So
I'll give you my reasoning.
So. Actually, all right, so I might start with the others then, John, and then I'll come back to Ben Hunt, and then you can finish with Ben Hunt. So, I think, John, Latrell Mitchell is overrated. He's on $1 million a year, his salary. As I said before, there was so much drama around him this year. Gets injured, gets suspended a lot. As we mentioned, Sam Burgess walked out on the club over him. He didn't chase for players in the defensive line. He had that drama with Cam Murray in that video session where apparently, according to reports, he said to Cam Murray, "When I call for it, give it to me." And Murray replied, "Most of the time, you're not there." Then we had that situation where he pulled out of the Kangaroos squad with a finger injury and then played in the Koori knockout tournament. Then we had him whinging about every other thing on social media every other week. He wasn't worth the $1 million this season, John. His team didn't even make the 8 after leading the competition after 11 rounds. He's not worth $1 million a year because he doesn't play his best football often enough, John. He gets too distracted by other matters. As we said, if you're on $1 million a year, you're paid to play well in at least 80% of your games, I would have thought. Latrell plays well, maybe once every 6 weeks, so he's overrated. I know he was out injured for a lot of the year as well, John, and they didn't do well with him injured. But when he came back, they didn't do well either, John.
They lost their last 8 or whatever the hell it was.
That's the thing, John. I'm going to give you another one, which, it's a bit close to the bone, but we're not here to make friends with these players, John. I
don't know them, so it's fine.
We're here for the fans, John. That's why we're doing this podcast. Don't worry,
if they ever came up to me and said, "You're the guy who called me the most overrated," I'd apologise and say it was just for the likes.
Again, it's not personal. We're just saying they're rated more highly than what they should be as football players. I'm sure they're all nice people, John. Okay, Jake Trbojevic, John. He's on $950,000.
He was my other one that I was going to toss up.
Okay, well, for me, that's way too much for a lock forward, that sort of money. I wouldn't pay him more than $600,000 a year, John. I got to be honest, John. I think he's only on $950,000 as a way of Manly keeping his brother happy. I think if his brother wasn't a teammate of his, the great Tom Trbojevic, I think he'd be on a lot less money than that. Again, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be an NRL player. I'm just saying he's paid $950,000 when he should be paid about $600,000. So in my mind, that makes him overrated.
I think he's an Origin player, bench Origin player.
Yeah, and there are Origin players who are on $600,000 a year.
Yeah, that's what they say. I think he's a bench Origin player and a bench Australian player who would be better suited to a $600,000 a year paycheck, earning that rest of the money from the rep. Whatever it is now, like $30,000 an Origin game and $20,000. I don't know what the numbers are, but basically earning his extra like $200,000 a year from rep. Mm-hmm. So if he plays well, then he'll earn that extra $200,000, $300,000 or whatever it is from rep. If he doesn't, then that's why he's overrated. Actually, I agree. So when I went and looked up Ben Hunt's salary, and I found a list of the 10 highest paid people in rugby league. And also in their positions. And Jake Trbojevic was on it. And then I was like, I didn't know he got paid that much. Maybe he's actually more overrated. But as a side, I saw Tom Trbojevic, and I also think Tom Trbojevic is overrated simply because he is prone to injuries. There are some players that people will say are injury prone. Like Andrew John, people used to say was injury prone. Jonathan Thurston's injury prone stuff. But when you look at it, actually they weren't. They did miss some long periods of time. Like I said, Andrew Johns missed 14 weeks in 2005. but for the rest of their career.
And then he came back. And and then I think Newcastle were coming last.
Yeah, they were last.
And then he came back, and I think they got close to making the 8.
And he almost won the Dally M. I think he was second in the Dally M.
Yeah, I think Thurston might have beat him 2 at that year.
Because he only played 9 games or whatever it is. Whereas Tom Trbojevic has one good game, okay, and it's like, this is Tom Trbojevic year, has a couple of, like, okay games, and then gets injured for 6 weeks. Comes back.
I get it.
Has a couple of okay games, and then a good game.
So, that's the thing. By overrated, we're not talking about when he's on the field and fit. When he's on the field and fit, there is no better player. And in 2021, he had an unbelievable season where he won the Dally M medal. But you're saying he's overrated in the sense that his team are not getting the value out of him because he's injured.
I'd say overpaid is probably a better description, simply because he doesn't work as much as he should.
That's why to be honest, I wouldn't call Tom overrated, but I would call Jake overrated.
Yeah. So as part of that, it just highlights that if Tom Trbojevic, Jake Trbojevic, is being overpaid overs to keep Tom around, it actually makes Jake even worse.
Yeah. So if you sit down, what do we reckon? So Jake Trbojevic is on 950 grand, John. So would we agree that maybe 600 grand is
good,
more? Yeah. Okay, so he's being paid, in our opinion, $350,000 more than what he should be. So then we've got to take whatever Tom Trbojevic is earning and basically add $350,000 to it.
He's apparently on 1.1.
Okay, so let's add. So it's 1.45. Yes. And so we have to. So 1.45 million for a player who gets injured all the time.
Yeah.
Who, when he's on the field, there's no better player.
Absolutely.
But he gets injured all the time.
So his cycle is plays really well, even in a losing team, gets injured, comes back and takes a few weeks to hit his stride, plays really well.
Yes.
Sometimes in a losing team, and then gets injured again.
Yes.
And so he's definitely not worth 1.4.
And so at some point, if you're Manly, you've got to sit down and work out, look, we know how great this guy is when he's on the field and fit, but he's just not on the field and fit often enough for us to justify paying him this amount, which isn't really 1.1 million, John. If we factor in the extra his brother's getting, it's more like 1.45 million a year.
So Tom Trbojevic is also old now.
How old
27.
is he now? Right, so he's getting up there, John.
Okay, and so he's been playing since 2015, so it's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. He's played 9 years, right? I mean, he's obviously not getting paid 1.1 million or 1.4 million or whatever for those 9 years, but he's averaging 14 games a year. Yeah. And so that it makes him, like I said, overrated is not the good.
No, I wouldn't call Tom Trbojevic overrated.
Overpaid.
But I would call Jake Trbojevic overrated.
He's overpaid, and then in doing that, he makes Jake Trbojevic even more overrated because Jake Trbojevic is getting paid extra to keep him around.
Yeah. So effectively, you've got to add whatever extra Jake's getting to Tom's salary.
There's a third one, right? Trbojevic brother?
Is it Ben Trbojevic?
Yeah, Ben Trbojevic. He also plays for Manly. So how much are they going to overpay Ben to keep Tom? But yeah, Tom's getting on now. He's getting old. He's 27.
Yeah, and Manly have a high-risk salary cap strategy where they put a lot of their money into not many players. Like Daly Cherry Evans, we know, is on huge money as well. It's a high-risk strategy, John. To be honest, at least they have a strategy. A lot of clubs don't have one, so I'll give Manly that. But that's high risk, John. If those players you pump a lot of money into are not on the field enough, it's gonna backfire.
And that's why Manly weirdly missed the 8 this year.
Yes. If we continue on with our other overrated players here, John. Another one I have to mention is, I'm going to do 2 together here, John, to finish my spiel, and then I'll let you go after me. Ben Hunt and Matt Burton, John, essentially for the same reason. They're chief playmakers for their teams who clearly have no impact on the result. Their teams came second last and third last this year, respectively, John. Reportedly, Burton is on $750,000 a year, a $3 million 4-year deal. He's not worth that, John. Ben Hunt is on $1.1 million a year. That money should only be reserved for players who get you into the finals on their own. And Ben Hunt is clearly not one of those players, John.
So
I hand you the floor,
to address Burton.
Yeah.
like I said, I think on Monday, I thought when he signed with the Bulldogs and after a few weeks, because he was the most sought-after player, young player, in the league. Many, many teams wanted him. Penrith wanted to hold on to him. Then he went to the Bulldogs, and he wasn't all that. And I thought Penrith had actually pulled a big trick. You know, they had tricked everyone. Convinced them that Burton was like the bee's knees, when actually he was just average, and kind of scammed everyone to offer overs so they wouldn't try and buy the other players. That's what I thought this. I floated this with friends. I was like, I think this is a scam. He is very good now, but he's definitely not worth $750 a year. But I think now, as of this year, he's a beginner half that should be on like $500,000, because that's the minimum you'd pay a half, right? Like 500,
Yeah,
400
again, we're not saying that these players can't play, John. We're just saying that they're overrated. But they can play. They're all, they're all good players. He should
never have got $750 3 years ago or whatever. Yeah. Was it 3 years ago he started at the Bulldogs?
I think he started. Was it the start of 2021, John?
I think this was
or 2022.
This his third year. 2019 Penrith Junior. I think this was his third year. Oh no, second year. 2020.
They did start in 2022. Yeah.
But he might move to centre next year, and then that may be so $750 is really good for a centre. That's probably the most you pay for a centre, unless they're a game-changing centre that's eventually going to become a fullback.
Yeah. Look, but I think they're on the right track in thinking that he should move into the. If they can get better halves options there, John.
Yeah.
You're paying him that amount, all right, it is what it is. You can't do anything about it. You may as well make best use of him. And if that's out in the centres, it's out in the centres, John.
So,
but yeah, anyway.
So Ben Hunt,
I give you the floor here, John.
Ben Hunt is one of the rare players. First of all, he's the fifth highest paid player in the NRL, $1.1 million. He was brought to the Dragons in 2018, much lauded as going to be the guy they build a team around, right? So he's one of the players in the rare 300 squad. As of now, he's at 312 games, 187 with the Broncos, 125 with the Dragons. Now, he's old. He's been around forever. He's played 300 games. Okay. He's 33 years of age, so he's only got 2-3 years left in him. He's played 15 games for Australia, 17 games for Queensland, 5 for the PM13s, and 5 for the Australia Nines. That one I didn't know.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, this is where the overratedness comes down to. His win percentage, okay? Because he's got a total win percentage of 50% in the NRL, which is obviously adversely affected by the Dragons not doing well. But his job was to make the Dragons do well. He's 55% in Brisbane. He did play under Wayne Bennett as well, who as a coach has a positive win percentage. 42% at the Dragons, which is terrible. This is where it gets terrible, actually worse. He's got a 46.67% win rate in the NRL finals, so less than 50% win rate in finals. Think of the maximum finals you can play is 4 to win a premiership. In 1 year. Yeah. So he's basically not getting out of the second round of the finals ever.
Yep.
He played in the Four Nations at a 66.67% win rate in the Four Nations. This is an Australian team. He had a 66%, so he won. It's 2 out of 3 actually he won.
Yeah.
Now, he's got a 52% win rate in State of Origin. He plays for Queensland, and he continually plays in losing sides for Queensland.
And that's the thing, he's been around a while, John. He was around in the era where Queensland were a very dominant side.
Yes.
I know they won 11 out of 12 series. I know he wasn't around for all of those series, John, but he was around for some of that time.
Origin debut was 2017.
There you go. Well, to be fair to him, that was the tail end of that, or that was the last year of that 11 out of 12. Yeah. But still, for Queensland... Yeah. You're not singing from the rooftops about
his
50%.
Overall win rate for Australia even is 80% in 15 appearances. Again, when Ben Hunt plays, for no matter the team, they tend to have a win rate that is worse than it should be.
Yeah.
Australia should never have an 80% win rate for anyone. Now, it's obviously not him causing all the losing, because it wasn't his fault they won last.
That's the thing, John. It's not one player's fault when a team loses, but The fact of the matter is, he is on $1.1 million a year, and his team came second last this year. So for whatever reason, John, he does not have an impact on the result for his team. And if you're being paid $1.1 million a year, you have to have an impact on the result, John. You've got to win games by yourself. You've got to get your team into the top 8 by yourself on that money.
That's not the only year that Ben Hunt has played for the Dragons where they came second last either.
Exactly.
Because 2015, he came in 2018, we came 7th. That was the last time Dragons were in the finals.
2018?
Yeah, 2018, 7th. And 2019 was 15th, second last. And then 2020 was 12th. Oh, we saw improvement. 2021, 10th. Yeah. 2022, 11th. 2023, the only reason we didn't come last is because there's 17 teams.
Okay, so how many, sorry, was it, what year did he start?
2018. We made the finals
that was
once.
the last time he made the finals.
So you can't say he took them to the finals.
So he's only made the final as the chief playmaker at the Dragons since 2018.
Captain.
That's 5 years ago now. That's a long time.
Yep.
Since 2018, they've only made the finals once with Ben Hunt as the chief playmaker.
So once out of 6 seasons.
And he continues to be paid $1.1 million a year. So he's overrated, John. That's just
when you look at all of these other guys that we talked about, they have achievements, okay? They have things like... this is why I think Ben Hunt is the most overrated no matter what across the league.
You know what, I'd agree. If I named some names there, John, but if I had to put it, I had to get it down to one player, I'm agreeing it's Ben Hunt. They
have achievements. Like I said, Tom Trbojevic won the Dally M. Even club achievements, they have achievements. The only achievement
Latrell Mitchell as well.
Yeah. The only achievement Ben Hunt has is the 2019 and 2021 Ron McAuliffe Medal, which is a medal I hadn't heard of and had to look up what it was. It's Queensland's best player of the series. So that's awarded by your peers. So
that's why the Dragons, they're better off without him, John. It's too much money. Yeah. Just let him go. If he wants to go, let him go. And rebuild, because with him they're coming second last, John.
Yeah, twice in 6 seasons.
And further to that, as you pointed out, only one finals appearance with him there since 2018. 5 years ago.
5 years, 6 seasons.
Something needs to change there, John. You don't want the Dragons to turn into the West Tigers, John,
but
where they don't address their problems.
They're well on their way to doing that because they don't address their problems.
Well, if you don't address your problems, you end up like the West Tigers. Yeah. It's that simple. So if you're one of those struggling clubs, like my club, the Bulldogs, like your club, the Dragons, John, you need to get on top of these problems before they fester.
And the continued nonsense around him with will they, won't they, kiss or dump each other.
Yeah.
It just makes him even more and more overrated because that's like, out of all the players in the entire league, it's unfortunate for me because I'm such a big Dragons fan. We hold the most overrated player. He's paid way too much. 5th highest paid player in the league. Made the finals once in 6 seasons, and it was the first season in which you can't give them a lot of people first seasons. You can't. He's had no positive effect on the team he's in, and on other teams he's been in, they tend to have a worse winning percentage than they are. I think he'd be best suited going off and playing hooker for a team that doesn't rely on him as anything. He's an addition to the team as opposed to expected to have any responsibility.
Yeah. I think it's a good discussion.
For $500,000 a year.
Yeah, I think it's a good discussion we've had, John.
And we can...
And there will be... This is only the start of our provocative...
Don't worry, maybe next time most overrated player in cricket.
Rugby league discussions where we're going to have more... So that's not the only one. Stay tuned to our coming podcast. We're going to have plenty more discussions.
Most like annoying coach.
The possibilities are endless.
It's Ricky
John.
Stewart.
We will talk about. We will do up a bit of a list of topics. We're going to do one in each podcast, John, and we will chat about it. Stay tuned for our next one. There's more of these interesting discussions to come.